let's see. I did start with Joe back in 2007, but I've actually had my business for 15 years total. And some of the stuff actually is funny that I did stuff that suddenly worked, and it wasn't until I came to Sandler that I understood why and what it was that actually made the difference. And I use as an example, like I said, 15 years. I started this business 15 years ago. It was weekends and evenings, I was just getting a little extra cash. I never had a year that I made more than $8,000 on my business. It was just, that sort of thing. But I had this dream that I was going to have a business someday.
And that you were going to quit at the university.
I was going to get working at the university. I mean, it's a great job. It was good pay and it had great benefits. How do you give that up? But my goal was I was going to slowly let off on the U of M and slowly build up that business, and then someday. Well, 12 years later, I was still doing the exact same thing. And I was reading a book called Secrets of the Millionaire Mind by T. Harv Eker. And I was reading in a particular section of the book, and it said, poor people want to be rich. Middle-class people choose to be rich. Wealthy people commit to it. And it was in that moment that I realized, I can't do this way. This isn't going to work. I have to choose now to do it. The next week, I gave my notice to University of Michigan. Of course, I asked my wife first. But it wasn't until I came to Sandler that I realized the reason it worked, the reason it started turning things over for me, because I made a commitment. I actually said, this is what I'm going to do now. I'm not going to do the old way anymore. And as part of that commitment, January 1 was when I left University of Michigan. February is when I started Sandler. I said, there's a gap in my knowledge. I'm pretty good at networking, but I couldn't close a sale to save my soul. I mean, I didn't know the first step in it even. And so coming here was sort of that, once again, it was a commitment. In fact, I remember having my first meeting with Joe after the executive lunch. And he, of course, took me off through the pain step and all this other stuff. And he said, we got to the end, and he says, well, what else do we have to do? I said, well, where do I sign? He says, well, are you sure? I said, I had already decided before I came in here. He said, well, why are you wasting my time? So that was the big thing, was learning about that whole commitment thing. And for me, that was a little difficult, because I'm the kind of person that when I have a goal in mind, I have to figure it all out first. I have to make sure I have a plan that's definitely going to work. Well, it turns out that that's not the way life works sometimes. And you just have to choose that that's the way you're going to go and figure it out when you get there. I was in leadership Ann Arbor a few years ago, and one of the places that you go is the Huron Valley Ambulance Company. And one of the things they talk about is they've got these ambulances that are just out and around town, and when there's a problem that they have to go to, the nearest one is called, and they're given a general area to go. They start driving. And when they're most of the way there is when they actually get the actual address. And that was when I realized, this is what I have to do. I have to get in the general direction first, and then someone like Joe will come along and say, here's the details. Here are the techniques that are going to support what you need to do. So that was a big thing for me. And once I got here, the biggest thing, how many of you have an AV journal? How many of you keep it on a daily basis? Start! That was the biggest thing. Everything, it was the technique, it was the behavior, which allowed me to say, okay, well, what do I need to start doing? On my telephone calls. One of the things I love that Joe taught us how to do is I ask, is this a bad time to talk?
Every day.
Yes. Yeah. Well, it's not the natural thing to do. And so the first thing I had is the technique I'm going to pick up, and I wrote it down, is I'm going to remember to do this. So in every single call, I can go back to my journals. I've had them now for 3 years, 2 years, something like that. I can actually say I have a little BT question mark. If I didn't ask for a bad time, then if it were a bad time, then I wrote that down so that I would remember. And over time, it gradually got better. For me, I'm a logical person, like Kevin over here, and it's very much, if I don't measure it, it's never going to improve. And so when I set that goal, I set it in paper, or actually in electronic, bits, but I have it on there. I say, this is the piece that I'm going to improve. And then at the end of the day, I can say, did it work? And And by doing that, I can actually go back and look through and say, hey, look, I'm getting better all the time. And I can adjust. I can improve because of that. I know one of the things that made me a little nervous about doing this, the AAB journal, is the cookbook. Everybody done the cookbook? You know, how many of this you have to do before you, how many basically work back, how many calls a day, essentially? Because I'm that perfectionist, you know, I've got to come up with a plan. Well, I don't know. I got to sit down and figure out, look at all my stuff. Guess. You're better off guessing and getting it wrong than not doing it at all. You can adjust later. And I actually discovered I way over guessed. That's why my problem right now is I've got way too much work. And I'm actually, I said, okay.
What does that imply?
What does that imply?
What does that imply? What do you have to do?
I either have to hire or increase my rates.
Supply and demand, brother.
Oh, yeah, yeah, well, I'll get there. But I actually said, okay, well, obviously, I've got more work than I can actually accomplish myself right now. So probably the amount of effort I'm putting into getting the work is a little more than I need. I can pull that back just a little bit, or raise my rates. So, and with respect to those rates, one of the things that Joe really helped me out with is, I love the, it's the way it is. This is how much it costs. This is how much my other clients are paying for
In
this.
case I didn't catch that, so that's pretty expensive. That's a little more than I want to spend, Greg. That's the response right there. That's the response.
Because I've discovered, I've got, and I do still have clients who will constantly try and nickel and dime you. You know, well, what if we, add this? It's not that big a deal. It costs this. So, I guess the big things are commitment, metrics, and sticking by your value.
Thank you, Greg.